All right, so welcome everybody to eTrack, a closer look. We have Randy Bloom here today, and we have Peter Zenner, who are both available to answer a lot of the questions you might have related to this great tool in providing pre-ed services. So thank you all for coming. I'm going to pass it to Randy to get going to do that deeper dive into what you need to know.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate the opportunity. I suspect there were many of you who were in the introduction presentation back in, what was that, August, July, I think. Things are moving fast, but some of the feedback we got was that folks wanted to have a little bit more in-depth look at eTrack and its functions, and it could be for new users or folks who may not have used it for a while. And so I wanted to just show kind of a walkthrough today on eTrack. So also in interest of time, I'll try to go through the presentation as quickly as possible, and then leave some time for questions for some of you who might have accessed eTrack. You might have some questions. We would be glad to answer that for you. My name is Randy Bloom. I work for MSS. We are a community resource provider. We serve currently about 500 individuals with VR services, day programs, and pre-ETs as well. I also wanted to introduce Peter Zenner from Zenmation. Peter Zenner was the original developer of eTrack. And eTrack started, many years ago, 6-7 years ago. And we had finished an upgrade recently. In fact, it was just pre-COVID. And suddenly eTrack became a pretty nice tool to use for remote job seeking skills training. And Peter, thank you for joining today. Peter's my technical expert. Can't do it without him, and he's been great. So Peter will be available also if there's some technical questions that come up. And also Peter has been doing some work with SSP on accessibility, and so we'll when we get to that slide, I'll have Peter talk on that. So let's see here. So yeah, let's get started. So eTrack is a job seeking skills training platform, work readiness skills, and dovetails very, very well with pre-ETs services. And you will all have a chance to participate with eTrack in subscribing. And if you haven't done so already, there is a enrollment sheet that I'll show you briefly, and all you would need to do is to fill out that enrollment sheet and email that to my attention here at MSS, and I will anybody who would like to utilize eTrack, we will get those subscriptions set up for you and any of the students, of course, that you are serving in pre-ETs. So I will share over here to, let's get the eTrack pulled up here. And bear with me a second here. I'm going to make sure I've got the sound on. All right, and can everybody see that okay? Thumbs up, Alyssa? Okay, Peter, thank you. I can only see you two. So eTrack is an online work readiness training skills platform. It consists of 6 courses in the job search process. And also, well, it starts with exploring a career. Fits very, very well with pre-ETs. There's different modules within each of the courses, and eTrack is very flexible. So as you're beginning course 1, exploring a career, You certainly can work from start to finish all the way through E-Track. However, as you are working with your students, you have the option to drill into those different modules or courses which might be most effective for the individuals that you're working with. We would encourage you to incorporate E-Track within your current personal curriculum that you might be training. And one of the big changes that we have made here over the summer on E-Track is to allow complete flexibility in moving back and forth to E-Track. Originally, E-Track was developed, and it was developed for independent use, running from start to finish all the way through in a linear fashion. But the feedback we received was that there needed to be a lot more flexibility in terms of being able to access different courses or different modules that would be most effective for the particular situation a student may be encountering. So you can explore different courses of E-Track as you log in, and really either run completely through from start to finish, or pick and choose the courses that might fit the student needs that you're teaching. The E-Track license is available for statewide CRPs who have a pre-ETS agreement with the state of Minnesota VRS. And if there's any questions on that, you can talk to Alyssa, and she can confirm that for you if there's any questions with that. So let me get started here. And we have E-Track is, and I'm going to move see if I can move my my camera screen out of the way of myself here. There we go. So it's narrated and animated for engagement, and is accessible. Animated education content includes lots of interactive exercises, videos, real-world scenarios, and hands-on learning activities. And there's also quite a few links that you'll find throughout E-Track to some of the resources that you'll be familiar with in terms of finding different information on exploring careers, etc. And I'll show you some examples of that. E-Track is accessible. It's closed captioned, audio description, screen reader, Braille device compatible. And I'll have Peter talk about that in a minute. And it is a cloud hosted software, and it's hosted on what is called, formerly I guess was called Moodle. It's really now called OpenLMS, but simply what that means is the access is it's fully available to access really from wherever you may have a laptop, computer, etc. And contains some great information on helping individuals understand the job search process. So I'm going to try to, again, I'm going to move this strip out of the way. Everybody be a little bit there. And let's see, where's my chat here? Okay, so there's an introduction here. I'd like to share some graduate stories, and I will use my I use a screen share here to do that. I use the chat here, hopefully. Let's see if we can find that. Okay.
While Randy's getting that up, I'll give him a little bit of time to get that video, but love to see all the comments in the chat about what people really love about working with students. It sounds like energy is a big theme for everybody. So that's great to see. I think we all need people to fuel us up. So students seem to do that. So I'm going to pass it back to them.
Great. Thank you. Can you see the E-Track graduate stories here, Peter? You're muted.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll play this here. Hear the sound okay?
A job is more than just a way to earn money. It also helps you become more independent, achieve your goals, and create the future you've always dreamed about. Finding the right job doesn't just happen. It takes hard work, planning, and patience to build a career. E-Track is an innovative online vocational training tool that teaches job search skills to people struggling to overcome common barriers to employment, such as disabilities, gaps in employment history, or mental health challenges. It also teaches critical job retention skills. E-Track is approximately 20 hours of online curriculum, which has 6 modules. 1, exploring a career. 2, filling out the paperwork. 3, starting your job search. 4, interviewing for a job. 5, evaluating and accepting a job offer. And 6, keeping a job.
Randy, can you turn on the captioning?
Let's hear from these 3 people
Yes.
who took E-Track and got a job. Meet Sam. Sam is an outgoing young man with a passion for staying physically fit. Sam completed E-Track in 2016 and says it gave him the confidence to apply for a job at a local grocery store. E-Track introduced Sam to practical employment strategies like how to search for a job, writing a good resume and application, and techniques for interviewing for a job. With those skills in hand, Sam got the job at the grocery store.
My job at Hy-Vee, I work up front where all of the cashiers are, and I bag all of the groceries, and I do like working there.
Even if Sam loved his job, he didn't want to stop there. Sam also used E-Track to explore his interests and think about his career goals, not just a paycheck. Sam is pursuing his dream to become a personal trainer and is attending Bethel University in the Twin Cities through the innovative BUILD program, where he is majoring in physical education and business.
A lot more friends because the friends that I had, they actually helped me by getting friends from the football team. And right now I am managing the women's softball team right now. Bobby is starting it in the spring. I am very more independent. I'm doing things on my own, and of me try to get some things done, like doing my laundry is one, and sure I can get to places on campus. I'm having a great first year. I am just being a straight A student and being a great boyfriend and have a lot of great friends.
Like Sam, Laura is an E-Track graduate and is also a young woman with cerebral palsy. Her charm and personality have made her a great advocate for people with disabilities, and she appears in videos in the E-Track curriculum with her positive messages.
If you're just sitting at home and doing nothing and just feeling sorry for yourself, like, oh, I want this job, well, you gotta do something. You gotta be active. You gotta put yourself out there, because you'll never know until you try.
After working at fitness centers for several years, a new career goal began to take shape: getting a job in the corporate world helping other people with disabilities. In 2017, she took E-Track for a second time to sharpen her job search skills. Then she began looking for job openings that supported her career interests. A job at Weco, an innovative company specializing in website accessibility, was especially interesting. Laura put her eTrack skills to work. She built a resume that included her expanded work history and created a customized cover letter. After completing a job application, she regularly followed up with human resources. Thanks to her persistence, Laura got an interview and the job.
We do audits on websites to see if they're accessible for people with disabilities within companies. So we partner up with big or small corporations. My position title is an operations assistant. In other words, I am the assistant to not only the president of the company, but I am the assistant to other staff members. Weco Accessibility Services is a virtual company, so it's a lot of computer work. So I am on the computer a lot, basically the whole day. The program we use to connect with other co-workers during the day is called Microsoft Teams, and that's how we communicate virtually to each other, doing all the operations part of what the company wants me to do.
Nick is an enthusiastic supporter of eTrack. His enthusiasm was clearly demonstrated in a video that went viral on the internet, which depicted Nick receiving his first job at a major retailer and was spotlighted on a national news broadcast called Right This Minute.
I have a video for you guys. It's going to make you smile. It's going to make you happy. It's going to inspire you. It has everything that a great video should have, including this guy, 25-year-old Nick.
Hello? Is this Nicholas?
Now, 25-year-old Nick is a recent graduate of a program called eTrack in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a service provided by Midwest Special Services, and it's an online training organization that helps people with developmental disabilities get over the barriers that they might face and help them get employment.
Hi, Bridget.
So he called these folks back, and we're about to find out. Did Nick get the job? Did he get the job?
Sure, I'll take it.
Look at that giant smile. He got the job. He high-fives one of the eTrack managers, the guy who's behind the camera. His name is Josh.
What's going on?
I got a position.
Doing what?
Guido.
A greeter? Wow.
You know, it doesn't matter who you are or how old you are. That first job when you get out of school is always so exciting.
Yeah, and he played it cool. You could tell how excited he was. And he's like, yeah, that sounds good.
Good job, man. I'm proud of you. That's sweet.
When taking eTrack, Nick particularly enjoyed the animation and video-based instruction. He was especially intrigued by the character of Kenny, the owner of Kenny's Diner. He was so intrigued that he decided to learn more about jobs in the restaurant industry. Thanks to the job search techniques that he learned in eTrack, Nick is now working at Culver's restaurant.
So in the lobby, I do tables, sweeping, mopping, stocking, bathrooms. I run trays out. I make sure the pop's okay, and that's about it.
To add to Nick's accomplishments, he was awarded a Certificate of Excellence for superior customer service. His dreams won't stop there. Nick is now looking at ways that he can get into a management position at Culver's. These three people are some of the many people who have experienced the power of eTrack. To learn more about eTrack, go to www.etrack-mss.com.
Okay, did that come through okay? All right. Thank you. Let me get back here to the PowerPoint. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So eTrack is also highly accessible, and Peter, maybe you can help others understand the work that you've been doing, particularly working with the SSB arm of VRS.
Great. Well, thank you, Randy. Hello, everybody. As Randy said, my name is Peter Zenner, and I'm the developer. My company developed eTrack about 7-8 years ago for MSS. And we always had in mind that we wanted to put a lot of focus, of course, on accessibility. And we just, so we really have a couple of different versions of eTrack. One is HTML5, and the other is much more of a text-based version with lots of audio descriptions to describe the visuals that a sighted person would see. So we, as Randy just said, we have a partnership right now, which is really turning out to be outstanding with the State Society for the Blind. And they've offered to just put eTrack through the ringer to make sure that it is fully accessible. And what we're finding, they're pretty much telling us, we don't even know if you need the text-based version. The HTML5 version is so good that we feel that that is fully accessible. But as I said, the one big thing about the text-based version, it does have all the audio descriptions and everything. So I think we might keep both of them. So anyway, so SSB is going to continue to do testing for us and make sure that everything is fully accessible. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Peter. Yes, if anybody's got any questions on accessibility with the program, please just reach out directly to myself, and Peter and I will answer any questions that you have. So eTrack for pre-ed services, total content of 20 to 40 hours of total curriculum, and covers the transition service requirements of job exploration counseling, workplace readiness training, instruction and self-advocacy, and hours, of course, for pre-ETS reimbursement must be pre-authorized through Minnesota VRS. And just we are asking that each student that you're working with receive their own eTrack subscription. And it's very simple to be able to sign somebody up. And that is done through what's called a new user enrollment sheet. And I think, Alyssa, you've sent this out to everybody, but if anybody does not have that, just let us know and we'll get you that sheet. You can retain that sheet moving forward as you might have new students enter into your caseload, and just simply fill out that sheet and send it to me. I'm going to see if I can pull up an example of that sheet real quickly here. All right, so this is the new user enrollment sheet, very simple. Username is just simply the first initial and last name. Enter the first name, full first name and last name, email address, and city you can put in there, organization. Typically, if you're VRS, you can just indicate VRS, and if you are a community resource provider, you can simply enter CRP or just indicate the name of your organization, and then just indicate whether it's a student or a teacher. And so if you're enrolling a student, just put student in the end, and then that will allow me to go ahead and establish the right subscription account for the student. Once I receive the enrollment sheet, I will be uploading that to the eTrack system. Typically, I'm doing that within 24 hours, and a lot of times quicker than that. So you should also receive, once I upload to the system, the eTrack system will automatically issue a temporary password, and you'll get a link to be able to go in and log in for the first time. And it will instruct you on the first time login to go ahead and change the password to something that you can have and keep secure. And again, just if you have any issues with access or having any difficulties getting into the eTrack system, just call or email me, and my information is at the back of this PowerPoint. So logging on to eTrack, let's get in here, and I'll show you how to just get into eTrack as a starting point. We're going to just take a quick look at a navigation overview of the different screens, the interactive capabilities, which we've covered quite a bit, videos, a lot of interactive videos, assignments and exercises, and PDFs, which can be used for different areas of the job search process. There's also grade reports available, and I'll show you how to look at grading. Also, time spent is something that people are going to want to be able to check on in terms of when a student last accessed the program, and also time spent and outcomes of the pre and post assessments. Each course contains a pre and post assessment to gauge learning throughout that particular course. We'll review some facilitation options, and I'll narrow that down based on the feedback, and also some eTrack best practices. Oops, I'm going to go back up to that page. So we will, let me just go in here and we'll log into eTrack, and I'll show you how that works. All right, Peter, can you see this page?
No, we don't see the actual Google window.
It didn't come up. Okay, let's.
Yeah, so you must not be sharing your desktop. So just select the Moodle window to share.
I'll go into it this way here. All right, let's try it this way. All right, how about now?
Great.
Okay, good. So when you access eTrack, this is the first screen that will come up. Or I'm sorry, this is the login screen. It'll tell you to log in. I'm going to log out real quick here. So log in, click on the login button, username. And your password, which will be generated by the eTrack system initially, and it will ask you to update that. Once it's updated, then you will get into your eTrack account. And in this example here, this is my teacher account. So this is what you will see if you are a VRS counselor and or a CRP placement specialist, et cetera, working with pre-eds. And so you'll notice here that we have some things over here on the left side. There is a dashboard function, and this will give you just a bit of a different view here. And also we'll give you a quick look at private files, which is a function that is available if you want to keep different files within the system. You're certainly able to do that. There is a calendar function as well. And don't know if this is going to be useful for folks, but it is possible to use this if you want to just focus on the E-Track program. There's private file loadings as well, so you can save files in here as well. And these could be things such as the some of the PDFs perhaps that your students might be filling out. And then you can typically you can just click on the E-Track course 1, exploring a career. So this is where the starting point would come up. There's also a field here that announcements may, from time to time, I may post some announcements, so you can go ahead and take a look at those. The announcements typically are for the teachers or counselors and not particularly for the students. So down here, number 1 course, exploring a career, and you'll see here that E-Track course 1 pre-assessment. You can click on this. And this will bring up now, since I've already taken course 1 here, it gives me a grade score, and looks like I did pretty well here on the on my initial attempt. But you can also go in and take a look. We'll take a look at one of the. This is just the pre-assessment quiz here for course 1, exploring a career, and each course just has a fairly basic 10 questions of different areas to gauge learning. So you and the students, of course, have access to their pre-assessments, and you can go in and take the quiz. It will also, of course, give you some feedback on what the answer that you've submitted is. So that's the pre-assessment. To actually enter the E-Track course, then you'll go down here, and as Peter mentioned, the HTML5 for accessibility is working pretty well, Peter, versus the text version. Is that a summary that we've kind of come across from SSB?
Yes, absolutely. And they gave me some recommendations that I'm in the process of implementing.
Excellent. So yeah, we'll be looking and improving that as we go along. So clicking on the course here, this will bring you into the enter page. So you'd simply click enter. Oops, see where we go here. Apologize for that. Let me try one more time here. I got Peter's.
Randy, you're going to have the same issue because you're only sharing the one window.
Okay, so let's go in and.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, and now you can see that, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we go into course 1, and you can see that. And we click enter. And then that's this. So this is something you cannot see right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. You're only sharing one window.
Assignment. Do your own discovery process.
Okay, hold on here. Let's see if I can find that real quick. There it is.
If you share your overall desktop, then
In this assignment, you'll complete your own discovery process.
Okay. So getting started.
Assignment. Do your own discovery process.
We're going to go to the welcome page here. This is the very first start here to E-Track.
Welcome to E-Track. E-Track is a set of 6 courses. The first 5 courses cover the job search process. They are Course 1, Exploring a Career, Course 2, Filling out the Paperwork, Course 3, Starting your job search.
Randy, you can click
Course
on
4,
closed
Interviewing
captions,
for a job.
show the closed captions.
Course 5, Evaluating and Accepting a job offer.
CC.
Course 6, Keeping a Job, covers things you need to know to be successful in a job after you've been hired. Before you get started, you'll need to choose a character to represent you in this course. You'll also need to enter your name so we know who you are. Click the Profile button at the bottom of the screen, then follow the instructions. Please do this now.
So we click on the profile and you'll see a group of individuals represented here, and students and or instructors can go ahead and choose their own character. I chose this guy over here. Just, well, the body type looks pretty good. This guy has way more hair than I do, which is kind of cool. I like that. So I will save that. And my name is also in there as well.
Great job. Now, let's get started. In this course, you'll begin your job search by exploring your personal interests and skills, as well as the careers and types of jobs that might appeal to you. In Module 1, you'll learn why people work, things employers look for when hiring an employee, an overview of a typical job search process, and the difference between a job and a career.
So each, excuse me, each course will have a brief summary of what you're going to be learning as you go in. And each course is very rich with interactive features and also exercises as well. So let's just take a look at one of those here.
Most job searches follow the same steps. Start by clicking on the elevator button to go to the first floor.
So these are just basic, some of the basic interactive features.
Phase 1, exploring a job and career. Learning about jobs and industries that match your interests will help you identify the skills, education, and experiences you'll need to get a job in a career that interests you. Click on the second floor.
So you go through and you click on all 5 buttons, and the student will get some good information. Exercise. Example.
Joe has set his sights on becoming an auto mechanic at a local garage. He knows that he'll need to finish high school or get a GED diploma, and that he'll need some special training. He's come up with a list of things that he has to do before he's ready to apply for jobs as an auto mechanic. Now he needs your help. Type in a number 1 through 5 in each input box on the left, putting his goals in the correct order, starting with the first thing he needs to do. Then click the Submit button. Pass the auto mechanic certification test. Apply for jobs as an auto mechanic. Pass the GED test. Complete required auto mechanics classes. Register for auto mechanics classes.
So this is just a simple kind of put these steps in order. And so first of all, we want to get the GED passed. We want to register for the auto classes. Want to go ahead and complete those courses. We need to complete the certification tests and start applying for jobs. So let's see if we've got this correct.
Well done. Before Joe can find a job working as an auto mechanic, he must 1. Pass the GED test. 2. Register for auto mechanics classes. 3. Complete required auto mechanics classes. 4. Pass the auto mechanics certification test. And 5. Apply for jobs as an auto mechanic.
So this will give you a little bit of a taste for what some of the interactive features are within the eTrack program. And there's also exercises as well. And we'll take a look at exercise My Job Requirements.
Now it's your turn. Click on the document on the left to download a worksheet to help you identify your job requirements. Print out the document and read through each section and choose the things you must have, your needs, and the things you'd like, your wants.
Is that coming through, Peter, that PDF?
No.
Okay, let me find it here. There it is. So this will pop up in the program, and you will see this is just an exercise that you can go ahead and fill this information in. Our job requirements, work hours, days, availability, shift. This is all information that can be saved for the student's file and reference back as the job search process continues forward. So that's a decent example, I think, of exercises that are contained throughout the courses. And then there's also a review and a module exam as well. What else can I tell you here? Let's see if we can find.
Randy, why don't you share the My Resources?
Yes, good point. Yes, so up here in the upper right-hand corner is My Resources. This is going to give you an overview for all of the different links that are contained. And is that coming through, Peter?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Assignment. So there's lots of assignments. Do your own discovery process, exploring careers. And let's just take a look here at, see if we can get, oh, and by the way, the links also to some of the different resources, Career One Stop is also available through eTrack, and that will come up in some of the different assignments and exercise. Minnesota Careers Interest Assessment is also part of that as well. So these are embedded links that you will find as you get into eTrack and work with individual students. Okay. So the one thing that you'll receive, a couple things that you'll receive with your, I'll call it the teacher subscription or the instructor subscription, you'll receive a facilitator's guide. And I really encourage everybody to really take a good look at that facilitator guide, because it covers some great information. It will help users learn the eTrack usage for different learning levels and different challenges that a student might be facing. It will also, of course, help you get started with eTrack, and will also help with grades and activity results for independent learners. Also suggestions for integrating eTrack into your current training, and suggestions for maximizing that training as well. The other thing I want to show today is just looking at grade reports. So we'll log into my account here. Again, this is my teacher account here. And you'll see in the upper right-hand corner here, I can simply click on my name. The video out of the way, and then you'll see grades. And so you can go ahead and click on grades. Click on the different course where you want to take a look. And you will see here, this is a grade report. And so down below here, you can have a list of your students. Now I've set up my own test student account. So I actually have gone in as a student. And as you can see here, this is reflecting the score for the eTrack pre-assessment, where I was lucky enough to get 100%. And it also shows that I have not yet gone into some of the other functions here as well. And if you want some more detailed information, you would go ahead and click on the student's name. And that will bring up the profile. And this will give you some information here in terms of when the student was actually entered into the system. And this also will give you some information on login activity. This shows that I last accessed that course as a student on Thursday, August 26th. If I go into course number 2, this is going to show that I have never accessed this course. So it's a good way just to check to see students' progress as they're moving through the 6 courses. All right, so back to the facilitator's guide here. If anybody does not have a copy of the facilitator's guide, shoot me an email. I will get that out to you right away and take some time to go through it. So facilitation options, as I mentioned, we had originally developed eTrack as an independent program, but the feedback we're getting is that eTrack is really most effective when you're working with an individual together in person or of course now remotely. But working one-on-one seems to be a really good way to work people through the eTrack courses and help them understand. It's also a good facilitation model is Classroom, where a group of users works together through the content simultaneously with ongoing instruction and support through the process. You certainly can screen share, whether that's on a whiteboard up front or with a PC with individuals. And individual and group models translate very well to virtual and distance learning formats. Best practices, just a summary, use eTrack in supervised format versus independent. You certainly can use independent format, but be sure just to stay in close contact with that individual to be sure that they're progressing. You can select again from various courses to include in your existing curriculum, complete and review appropriate exercises within each course. So you can select the ones that you find are most valuable. And you can also review the selected courses based on an individual skills need. Example would be a person goes out and they do some interviewing. They might have some areas for improvement. You can go back and select those eTrack courses to review that might be most helpful for that individual. So thank you. I wanted to take some time to answer questions today. You can reach out to me directly. I'm encouraging anyone who would like some one-on-one help or other needs to send me an email or call me on my cell. You can also visit our website, and I am certainly available and have been conducting one-to-one trainings and some group trainings with some different CRPs across the state as well. So thank you very much, and I'll open it up for questions.
Randy, we do actually have a couple of questions, so I'm going to throw some of those out. And one is Heather just kind of writing in to just say that she took a month off from using the tool and is having problems having it say that the email might be invalid. So for technical issues like that, where would somebody go, or how would somebody handle that?
Yeah, go right to me. Yeah, we've had some folks who you know, and I think probably what's happening is that, you know, if you were in eTrack last year, those licenses expire after 365 days. So it's really, if you're not getting into your old, I'll call it the old eTrack account, just email me and I'll get you reset up and reissue password for you. I had done that several times today as well. So I hope that answers the question. Does that work?
Yeah, that's great. And I put Randy's email in the chat as well. I know he has it on the screen and it's in the PowerPoint we put in the chat. Somebody did have a question from your prior navigation or through the courses is, do you have to complete an entire course before moving on to the next?
The answer is no. We built the flexibility in to be able to skip ahead. And if you find that you're in a course or you're in a particular slide that might not be applicable, you can just click the next button and you will immediately start moving through. And conversely, if somebody missed some information that may have happened, you can just grab that slide bar, move it back, and review that information quickly. And that's one of the improvements we were made aware of pretty much right off the bat, as you'd have to go through that whole slide before you could go back and try to catch something that might have been missed. Fully flexible, backwards and forwards now. Great.
And I know one that Alyssa answered in chat, and I didn't even introduce Alyssa Klein, but hopefully many of you know Alyssa. But the question was about, is subscription covered, or does our organization need to pay for placement people to use it? And I know you both probably could tag team on that. And Alyssa, who's our transition and pre-eds specialist or coordinator, excuse me, can speak to it as well. So I'll let either one of you handle that.
Yes, so we are able to use pre-eds funds at this time to pay for the cost for those subscriptions for pre-eds students that anybody serves. So if you have a pre-ed student that is going to be using the system, or you're going to be working on it with that student, then you just let Randy know that it's for a pre-ed student, and then we cover the costs on that.
And we did plug in that enrollment form that Randy, you referred to as well on the chat. If anybody's having difficulty accessing documents from the chat, we'll try to send some of these materials out post-event as well. Any other questions that we missed? Those were the ones that I see in the chat. Anybody, you can feel free to either raise your hand or unmute if you can if we can watch for one at a time. Any questions? I actually do have one, and I might have missed it because sometimes I'm dividing my attention a little on these sessions. When you had showed some of the quizzes that people take, and there was the voice output, does it read well with a JAWS reader as well? If you have somebody who might be blind, how does it do? How does eTrack do with somebody who might be blind and JAWS reader applying to this?
Peter, you want to take that? I think we've talked
about
that extensively.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's what I mentioned early on about accessibility. A screen reader will work well with either the HTML5 or the text-based. I mean, the challenge with the HTML5 is if you're having JAWS read it and the narrator is also reading it, it can, you probably would want to mute, the narrator, so you weren't listening to both. That's why I think, it'd be good for us to keep both versions. So we'll just let the user decide which version they want. But yeah, and then working with SSB too, they definitely tested it a lot with Braille displays, and both work well with Braille displays.
Well, I'm just going to say that's a huge win, because that's a lot to be kind of working through, but boy, making it fully accessible like that is a great win. So thank you for working hard on doing those pieces as well.
Yeah, thank you to SSB for helping us with really taking a good hard look at accessibility on the program. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, great. Any other questions that people have? If not, I want to thank Randy and Peter. Thank you so much for coming today. It is definitely a much deeper dive and gave us a real good flavor of the eTrack tool and all that it has to offer. Thank you to everybody who was able to make it. We'll send out information to all that were registered and participating today post-event. So if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to Randy, or if you have questions about, about how VRS kind of covers things, feel free to reach out to Alyssa, but we're really excited for this tool to be used for students to get a hold of it for their career readiness and development. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ann and Alyssa, for your partnership. Peter, thank you so much for,
thank you
for all your work and backing me up here. And thank you everybody for your patience on my screen sharing today.
No worries. Thank you, Randy and Peter.
Thank you.
Reach out if I can help anybody. I'd love to hear from you.
Sounds great. Thank you, everybody.